All right, welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches podcast. And we were hoping that we were going to have our Cowboys fan here to just discuss general thoughts and, what did you think about the game and how do you feel like your team did? But when you have the biggest loss that have ever had in this rivalry in the history of the teams, I would, you could sit this one out. We don't blame Sister Leslie at all, because that was an absolute dismantling of I think, a good team. Well, I mean, time will tell, but I thought it was a good team coming in. We made them look like a not very good team. So, Brother Bill, thoughts on the game?
Last week I said I expected a rock fight. We got one, but only one team brought rocks. The 49ers came out with intensity from the beginning of the game, and they never let up. And I thought that the play that set the tone defensively was when who's our linebacker, 57?
Warner.
Sorry?
Warner?
No, that's 54. It'll come to me later. When he picked up and he tackled Pollard. Questionable. I thought it was going to be a necessary roughness flag, but it wasn't. But just and then Pollard look at the refs like aren't going to call it. That told me that when you're looking at the refs, that tells me that you feel like you're overwhelmed. And Pollard was never the same after that. I think that set the tone for the whole game for the Niners defensively. And even after Dallas scored that one touchdown to make it 14-7, I thought, let's see how aggressive Shanahan or conservative he is, because early in the game, when the Niners came back and scored to make it 21-7, I knew it was lights out and the route was on. They were, whatever they had for breakfast that morning, they were ready to handle their business.
Yeah, they were. And it's so interesting watching, because obviously there's a huge Purdy debate, and there has been, and that it seems to be more national now than it was. It was definitely during preseason and training camp and everything for us. But watching not only like what a good quarterback can do with Kyle's system, but what Kyle allows that quarterback to do. Because what I was worried about was that Kyle's going to be ultra conservative, grind it out, the kind of like what we've been doing. And then, you win 23-20 or you win 2017, and they just move the ball a lot. And I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that Purdy can actually do it, which is incredible because hasn't even played a full season. And he seems to be able to read the defense, know what the offense is trying to do, and then get the ball where either it should go or the best place for it. And Purdy's he's blowing me away with how good he is and how calm. He throws a touchdown, he's like this. Throws an incompletion, he's like this. It's awesome.
Dre Greenlaw was 57 for the Niners. I couldn't remember his name, but
yeah. And there was a play for me where I was like, okay, Dallas is gonna. And they did something that was like, and I don't remember if it was before the touchdown or after the touchdown, but it was like a 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 6, and they handed the ball off like for a sweep, and it was like, did they not? Obviously, they don't trust Dak to do a play that, like, there's no way that's gonna get a first down. It was a terrible play, and I think they may even lost a yard on it. I was like, oh, they don't trust Dak, which he showed why later in the game when he's throwing all the picks and stuff, but.
They knew, or I think they were concerned that the line of scrimmage was going to be in their face, and it was. That Niners defensive line got pressure. Even if they didn't sack Dak, they were in his face almost every play, where he had to drop back and do a 5-step drop. So,
and Micah Parsons was a non-factor in this game, which is incredible because he is top 2, top 3 in the league, and he was a non-factor.
You know why?
Well, what he said was the Niners that the Cowboys just made a bunch of mistakes, and we'll see him later.
I was at the game, and even the one thing I don't disadvantage of being at the game is you don't get to see the replays like you do on TV. So I watched it when I got home. When they ran the ball at him, they had guys who were on him blocking him, and he's not used to that. He's used to rushing the quarterback. They had guys, if it was either an old lineman or a tight end getting chipped, they ran the ball at him, and that's what you do with pass rushers.
And also, they lined him up over you guys all-pro tackle the whole game. They didn't move him around. They could have moved him onto the other side. They kept lining him up on the same side the whole game. And that was a penalty, Bill, when they picked that guy up and threw him out of bounds. The running back, that linebacker, I remember that call right there, what you're talking about.
Yeah,
that was definitely unnecessary roughness, personal foul, whatever you want to call it.
Should have been.
And the only reason you guys got away with it because it was on your sideline. He threw him. That happened on you guys on the 49ers sideline. That's the only reason they didn't throw it. And no, I ain't even gonna say that one. But anyway, yeah, that should have been called that play there. But the Niners dominated on both sides of the ball. Offense and defense line just dominated the game. McCaffrey, when he touches the ball, he's like playing a video game. He gets through that line so quick into the second level so fast that Dallas didn't have time to adjust. Once they try to adjust to McCaffrey, then like you said, Purdy you got all these weapons. That, it's easy when you got so many different weapons. And I think Ayuk is you guys' number one receiver now. That guy there, So I was talking to somebody, they call him the X Factor. I'm like, no, he is not an X Factor. I think he's the guy. So, it's just, I give you guys kudos. I tell you, you guys are looking like a team that's the top of the heap right now. It's a long season, but the Niners are playing the best ball right now on both sides of the ball. So you got to give you guys credit. But just to defend Sister Leslie a little bit, she was texting back and forth during the game, and she was like, she wasn't defending her team. She was calling it like she saw it also.
Oh yeah, no, she's not delusional. I mean, she'll have an honest conversation about her team, 100%.
Yeah, so she was, she even called out Dak. She's like, she don't think Dak is it's going to be the answer for Dallas now. But yeah, and that was some of the problems you said about when they didn't trust Dak. Dak plays with a lead or a short field, but when the pressure's on him, it's a whole nother ball game for him.
Which is why he has issues in the playoffs, because that's where the pressure is. And so realistically right now, so after this, it's Niners Eagles. I mean, those are the two teams. I mean, like barring injury and anything crazy, NFC it's Niners Eagles again, correct?
Well, you're right, barring injury, but I think the thing that's, and I said, at the start of the season, by mid-season, we'll have a sense of separating the pretenders from the contenders. Week 5, yes, not because they're both undefeated, but because of the way they're winning the games, right? And so, I think you have to watch out for other teams if they start getting some losses and then shaking up things. And to your point, I think health is going to be the biggest barrier for those teams. I mean, guys are going to get nicked up, but if you have to go into the playoffs healthy. Detroit, they're young. Yeah, they're spunky. No one in the South, NFC South. I mean, someone's going to win that division. But I still think it's a 2-horse race between the Niners and Philly because of the matchups, the way they match up on both sides of the ball with the other teams that they're going to play.
And they're both, the Eagles are stacked. I think the one, if I'm thinking about a head-to-head again, like let's say NFC Championship game, I'm comfortable in the fact only that I think we have better coaching than them. But players-wise, that team is a monster of a roster.
Yeah, I think you guys might still have the edge on the offense of skilled players on the offensive side also. So I don't know. If it gets into a shootout, I don't know if Philly can keep up with you guys.
I hope not.
I don't think so. But yeah, I'm still thinking Philly is in there, but they'd have to make it, like Bill said, they better bring their rocks. Because if they don't, it ain't going to be pretty.
Right.
So Deacon Greg, sticking with you. Victory for the Raiders last night.
Oh my
goodness! Marshawn Lynch out, the good luck charm. He comes out and they make Packers look pretty bad in front of a lot of Packers fans, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's always that way in Vegas. You're always gonna get a lot of fans from the opposing team. Yeah, the Raiders, they pulled it out. Even though I was getting a lot of texts from some guy that I ain't gonna mention right now, just kept bugging me. But yeah, the Raiders, they survived that game. And I had a lot of faith in my field goal kicker, but I don't know what he was doing. He got one tipped and then he got one, he hit the goalpost, So, and my quarterback, Jimmy G, Woo! I don't know about that guy. I don't. His arm strength is like really worrying me. You know, it's just I think he's a really timing quarterback. Hit guys with timing routes and stuff. And the Raiders like to try to push things down the field a little bit more than he's used to. So I don't know how that's going to work out for Jimmy G. Defense is playing all right. You know, they scare me at times. I didn't like the up. You know the. If I was the Packers, I'd have just been running the ball up the middle. It just seemed like they could just run it up the middle every time they wanted to, and then they went away from that. But as far as the DBs, they try to hold. You know, Peters, I don't know about him. He's a spotty guy. He'll make a play and then he won't make a play. Linebackers play decent, but overall, they're treading water right now. We'll see what happens.
So what were your thoughts when they kicked that 52, 53-yard field goal instead of going for like one?
I think they should have went for it. I don't know. You know, the coach he makes some kind of crazy decisions a lot, but I think they should have. The defense, like I said, defense was playing pretty good, and your running game is starting to come around a little bit. And even Jimmy G is sneaking the ball. The quarterback sneak was working for you. So whatever, I would have tried to pick up that 1 yard because you missed a field goal and you even gave them better field position. So.
Yeah, I was surprised because Brady is obviously great at like the 1 yard and under quarterback sneak. Jimmy G's awesome at he's comparable to it, and they both learned it in the same system. Who is your coach? I couldn't like I was just saying, like, at least if you missed the rush, you're giving them 7 less yards or 8 less yards than if you had. I thought that was odd too. I mean, if you made it, it would have been great, but 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and you only have to go like 60 yards. I mean, good thing Jordan Love sucks because that could have been really bad. All right. So we've seen this huge drop off for Russell Wilson. We saw a huge drop off for Sean Payton, unfortunately for Reverend Chris there on the same team. And then something this year where we've seen a decline, but the last 2 games have just been mind-boggling to me about how horrible this team has become. And it looks so bad. I in my heart, I wanted to be doing it on purpose, but I don't know if he is. What in the world is going on with Belichick and the Patriots? Brother Bill, I'll start. Any thoughts on like what is going on in New England?
The rest of the league has caught up with them and passed them by talent-wise. I mean, it's one thing, when Tom Brady leaves. It's one thing when Gronk leaves. But since that time, if you look at how they've scouted and the players that they've brought in, they were talking about this on ESPN this morning. They only have 2 all-pro or first team, whatever, players since 2000, and I thought they said 2016. So that's 7 years. And parity, there's already parity in the league, right? But they used to be the standard in the AFC East. Not the case anymore. Buffalo and Miami have long passed them by. They're not that good. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Other teams are better than them.
Yeah, like you said, they said that he only drafted 2 All-Pros, and it was a punter and a kicker.
Right.
Other All-Pros that he drafted, and like the guy they were saying this morning, Tom Brady made up for a lot of his mistakes that he missed on. Tom Brady was able to cover that up, and you don't have Tom Brady there anymore, and so like you said, he's the GM. He's the one that's making those decisions to bring in these guys. So what is his real eye for evaluating talent?
Mm-hmm.
And so that it's not that I don't believe he's tanking in no kind of way. You can look on his face and see how frustrated he is. So it ain't about tanking. It's about he don't have the talent to do it. He just missed on a lot of players, sort of like my Raiders. We miss on a lot of players, and then you got to just play with who you have on the field. So that's where he's at. So I don't know how long he's going to be the GM for sure, and I don't know how long he's going to be the coach. But
so if you were Kraft, would you fire him or would you just force him out as GM?
The latter. Get another GM.
I think the
issue I have with coaches who are GMs is the same issue I have with coaches who are the coordinator. There's so much that goes on in the game. Just focus on coaching. If you get a guy who can call plays on the offense or defense, let them do that. Just everyone stay in your lane. Coordinators take care of your offense, defense, special teams, GM. Do what you do. Head coach, focus on just coaching the game. I think it's an ego thing when coaches try to wear more than one hat.
Yeah, but can you imagine where the Niners would be with the amount of Niners or Rams, with the amount of people that have left the organization to get head coaching jobs and OC positions? If our head coach was not the play caller, we would have been screwed like 3 years ago. Like I think you almost have to have a coach that's a play caller, because then if you don't, you get in a position where like the Lions, when the Lions are inevitably going to lose their OC. So unless he just has somebody on tap that comes in that's awesome, what's his name, Ben McDonald, he's been awesome for the Lions. When he goes someplace else as a head coach, the Lions that whole offense could be completely different. Like there's to me there's too much fluctuation if you don't have a head coach that calls plays. Like look at the Steelers. The Steelers are stuck with whatever. Like if they had an offensive play caller, their offense would be way better than them having to find an OC and then weirdly sticking with crappy OCs for longer than they should. I don't understand that either.
Well, look at Kansas City. Go ahead, Deacon Gray.
Well, I was gonna say, but you have to go with who you have. Belichick's been a defensive guy his whole life. You can't, and they had success like that. So I mean, and NFL is like trends. Sometimes it's a defensive coordinator that comes in and takes over, and even like when Pittsburgh had their success. But you got to have wherever you hang your hat, you got to hang your hat on that. And some coaches, some owners hang their hat on defense. They believe in a defensive coordinator, coordinator to be their head coach, and sometimes it works out. So I just think you just got to continue that. You know what, a good head coach should be able to just be the head coach. He shouldn't be no kind of coordinator. He has to be the manager of all of this right here, and he got to run his organization. So you got to get these guys. You have to be able. A good head coach knows enough about offense and defense, but he brings in coordinators to set up their system, and then you can have some input. At certain times, you might put a play in there that you like, and something that you see, or because you're involved in the whole thing. But I wouldn't, Niners are fortunate that they got a head coach that is actually a play caller, but most organizations don't have that. You just need a good head coach that knows how to coach and organize, put everybody where they need to be.
All right. So I know college football has kind of shifted a lot. There seems to be, and I don't know if it's an NIL thing or if it is a transfer portal thing that is allowing it, but it seems to be like the talent seems to be spread out a little bit more. So you're not having like these just dominating teams that just come in and just run everybody over. So we're however many weeks into the college football season, and whether you can do, like the top 2, top 3, top 4, who are you seeing as the teams that are going to make it into that Final Four this year up to this point?
Well, I'm looking at the top 5 right now, and they got Georgia's number 1, Michigan number 2, Ohio State number 3, Florida State 4, and Oklahoma number 5. Out of those teams, so we were talking a little earlier, there's no dominant team. So like even Georgia's, they won the national championship last year. They're ranked number 1 right now, but they've been in some dogfights this year. All these teams, have been in dogfights. So right now, I think it's still wide open. Even some of the teams are not even in the top 10 right now, or got a chance. Alabama's number 11 with 1 loss. We'll see what happens. It's just a long game, a long season. And like you said, for those very reasons that you just mentioned, that with transfer portal and all this stuff right here, this talent is so spread out now. And there's a lot of parity in college football. So it's fun to watch, really, because I don't like dominating teams anyway. I like to see, let these kids get out here and play.
Brother Bill.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at Georgia's schedule, and they could very easily run the table. I mean, because you only play 12 games a season, and then you have the conference, tournament. They got Vanderbilt, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech. And they're now Missouri, and Tennessee, and those could be good. Those teams only have one loss, but I expect Georgia to win those. So, Georgia, you could probably pencil them in for the top spot. What I think where it gets interesting is the Michigan and Ohio State, because they're going to play each other again this year. This year's going to be at Michigan. I'm sorry. This was Michigan last year, wasn't it? Because I know they alternate where they play. Anyways, where I'm going with this is I think between 2, 3, and 4, between Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State, I expect that to change over the course of the season. The team to watch out for, though, is Texas. They only have one loss, and they shouldn't have lost that game to OU. So I think once you get into the conference tournaments, whoever wins that's seeding for the playoff. But I think Deacon's great point. I don't know that you can pencil any of those teams that I mentioned in to win it all.
Yeah. Do you trust Texas's coach?
I look at more of their players than the coach.
Great players.
Yeah. I mean, they can put up points, but what almost always gets exposed once you get into the playoffs is defenses and how teams can run the ball, stop the run, just like in the pros. So I think where Michigan has the advantage is they're a physical team running the ball. But if you take away their run, they're toast.
Yeah. See, I just everything I'm hearing on sports talk is just Michigan's the best. Like Michigan's the best team we've ever seen in my 20 years of coaching and this and that and stuff. And talent wise, that maybe whatever. I don't know. I'm not out there in the field. I have been following Harbaugh obviously for a long time, and there's no way he will not get outcoached by somebody in those Final Four. I mean, he looked like a fool against TCU last year. I think he is an extremely good fundamental coach. He's extremely good if your team is punch you in the mouth and slow the game down and grind it out. But he's not, to me, he's never going to out strategize some other coach. He's not going to I feel like Georgia could out strategize. Ohio State offensively could definitely out strategize. Oklahoma, I was surprised that they did what they did to Texas. I thought Texas was gonna get him, but then you have like USC is not very strong either. They're flashy, and I want them to be better, but I'm looking at them and I go, they're not that great. I think when you get into that Final Four, like and I'm saying this knowing that what's his name won with LSU a few years ago, and he's not exactly like a mastermind coach. But
look, Joe, look, I'm gonna stop you right there because you just debunked all your theory.
I did.
And that's where I look at college football is different because I think it's more on talent than coach. If you got the best talent like Alabama has had for so many years, and they just ran over everybody, now like everybody's catching up. So now Sable's supposed to be this genius coach, but you see he's really struggling. He's barely getting it done. And then what is that? South Carolina, that coach, when they were on top and they were kicking everybody, and winning everything. Now look at South Carolina. When you ain't got the talent, I don't care who you think you got as their coach, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and it is. I remember what was it, the Alabama Notre Dame with Manti that year, the Manti Te'o, that whole thing, and they're like, oh, number 1 versus number 2, and it's like it was just like this team just ran the team over because there was nobody that could stop anybody on either line. Yeah, as soon as I thought of LSU, I was like, yeah, the guy he wins the championship and is out of a job like 2 years later. So
Coach Obregon.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's a good point. But then to me that would come back to it's probably going to be Georgia then.
Yeah, I don't think Georgia's talent is a lot of parity there. They're not even with the talent. I don't think they got all the talent. The talent is spread around.
Yeah, I just see just big dudes on the line. And I mean, granted, the passing game and all the running game and stuff, but just big SEC type dudes on the line. So Deacon Hill, real quick before we jump off, you kind of see USC as being kind of wonky too.
Yeah, USC's defense, they don't play any defense. I mean, you can't win without defense, and they can score. They got a good quarterback and their offense. They put up some points, but their run defense is horrible, and even the pass, their defense just gives up too many points to really compete with the big boys.
Because that was always the problem with him in Oklahoma. You would think, I need to hire a really good defensive coordinator, and it didn't translate over. But he's at USC, like he should be running the West Coast. and they'll probably lose to Oregon and Washington.
Possible, yeah.
That doesn't make sense. All right, so we have the Browns this week, which will be good to see how we play against their defense. Raiders are playing
Patriots in Vegas.
I don't like after the last 2 weeks, you're like, they should win that game. But like Belichick has to respond at some point, and he's facing his ex-OC. They have to respond at some point, especially like to me, this would be the game they respond. He's playing his old quarterback, the one that he wanted to keep, and he's playing against his old OC.
So you're taking the Patriots?
I can't imagine them sucking 3 weeks in a row as bad. They've scored 3 points in the last 2 weeks. Bill, you think Raiders got him?
Yes.
All right.
For the simple reason that the Raiders have a better running game than New England. If you put the ball in Mac Jones' hand and force him to win the game, not good enough.
No.
And see, to me, the key to the Raiders beating Green Bay Monday night was Josh Jacobs got the ball 20 times. Should have been 25. I mean, he's the key to the running game. Even if you're not popping it for 4 yards or 5 yards of play, just the fact that you can control the line of scrimmage and you just shorten the game. That's the Raiders' meal ticket. It's not trying to throw the ball all over the place because Devontae Adams, he's going to be double covered almost every time. There's almost always going to be safety over the top. So you've got to – Josh Jacobs, to me, is the Raiders' meal ticket to a win against the Patriots.
What'd you say?
And the defense. Defense got to come through.
Crosby, man. People were
loving
Crosby.
If the defense can't keep a team like New England in check, then forget the rest of the season. Because New England's offense isn't that good. So I'm saying if you can't handle a subpar offense, then what are you going to do the rest of the season?
Well, we've been playing sub. We just barely handled a subpar offense this week, so it's just week to week with us. You know.
All right.
Cool. All right, you guys have a good week, and we will check in next Tuesday. Thanks.
All right.
We're not going to talk about what we think Niners are going to do against Cleveland. I think that could be the bigger rock fight than Dallas.
It should be, but they got their butts kicked by Baltimore, which I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what type of start the Niners get off to. Because now, are you still recording? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, so, and it's not like it's a misnomer, teams are going to be up for you. You should be up against your opponent every week. It doesn't matter whether it's the first game or the 17th game. Right? And now the fact that it's, you got to travel, and then it's not so much you got Cleveland, but then you have to come back home, and then you got Cincinnati coming to town, and the Bengals are no joke. I mean, if especially Joe Burrow is healthy, because Jamar Chase, that dude thinks he's always open. Most of the time he is. So if the Niners, if they handle it like a business trip and just focus on Cleveland, don't celebrate anymore about whooping Dallas, that game is over. Just handle your business and get ready for the Browns. The Niners should be okay.
What do you think about Deshaun Watson healthy scratching himself? He's not on the injury report. He's got nothing. He's just not playing. He's
not going to play Sunday?
He didn't play last week, and he was healthy. And supposedly he's like, I don't understand what that dude. That dude's a trip. But I've never heard of a player healthy scratching themselves for a game.
Yeah, if I told my boss, there's nothing wrong with me, but I don't want to work today.
Yeah.
If I'm the owner, I'm like,
you guys owe me $219 million no matter what, so I'm just going to chill. And I can't imagine him going, okay, I'm going to sit out this game, but I'm going to come back and face the Niners. Let's do that. Because you're going to be. It's weird, but I'm looking forward to seeing how we handle their defense, because I think Dallas, up until last week, is a top, at least a top 5 defense. And we were able to like shut down Micah Parsons, who is an absolute animal, and we get to try it again this week with Myles Garrett.
The Cowboys were a top 5 defense against teams like the Giants, the Jets, and who was the other team
New England.
And New England.
Yeah.
That's how they padded their stats to be a top 5 defense, and the Niners exposed all of that. And, I'm sorry, Arizona exposed all that by being physical, just running the ball at them. And like I said, we'll see whether or not this Dallas team can recover the rest of the season, because they're not going to win the division unless Philly just decides to stop playing or someone gets hurt at the wrong time of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Niners have too much speed and skill at the skill positions. I don't see Cleveland's defense slowing them down. I just don't.
Yeah, well, especially after the Baltimore thing, because I thought, okay, Baltimore's and they played. Steelers handled Baltimore's offense better than the Browns' defense handled Baltimore's offense. That shocked me.
Yeah, we'll find out. What do you think, Greg? That's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully, we're back on next week, and we have 2 victories to talk about, because we're both playing teams that we should beat.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
All right, you too. Go Niners.